Hello and welcome to the sermon recap for this week. The subject was the healing power of truth. And this sermon was about how in the Word there's lots of diseases, people who are sick, and how God can heal them. It happened in the Old Testament, happened in the New Testament through Jesus quite often. And what's talking about is that every disease in there pictures something that might affect our spirit or something we're struggling with on a spiritual level. And this main story we talked about was the story of Naaman, who was commander of the Syrian army. This is from the second book of Kings, chapter 5 in the Old Testament. And Naaman had leprosy, which was a terrible skin disease where you would lose sensation in your skin, and eventually you could hurt yourself and not know it because of that, because the nerves would be lost. But it pictures believing in false ideas that can hurt us, ideas that are untrue. And Naaman wanted to be healed, of course, and he had a servant girl that they had captured from Israel. And she said, well, too bad my master's not in Israel because there's a prophet who could heal him. That prophet was Elisha. And so he found out from the servant girl, and Elisha went to the king, and the king of Syria sent a letter to Israel, the king of Israel, saying, will you heal him of his leprosy? So Naaman shows up to the king of Israel and says, please heal me of my leprosy. Here's a letter from my king. And the king's like, I can't do that. But there is a prophet who can, and that was Elisha. So Naaman went to Elisha to be healed. And Elisha didn't even come out to see him. He just sent a messenger and said, hey, tell Naaman to go wash in the Jordan 7 times. And when he does that, his skin will be made clean. Well, Naaman got all upset about this because he expected some dramatic thing to happen, that he would wave his hand over the place, the prophet would, and then something dramatic would happen and he would be healed. But because of the simple thing that he was asked to do, he didn't do it. He says, aren't the rivers of Damascus much better than this river of Israel? But eventually he listens to his servants who say, hey, if he told you to do something great, wouldn't you have done it? Why not if he just asked you to do something simple? So Naaman does go and wash in the Jordan, and he is made clean. And what this story tells us is that the River Jordan and the waters there picture truths from the Lord's word, simple truths from his word. Water is a symbol for truth, just like we wash our bodies when they're dirty, and it helps us to be clean. We can wash our spirit with truth, so to speak, immerse ourselves in truth and live by it, and it can clean our spirit, help us with things like anger and impatience and lust and fear and those sort of negative emotions that we struggle with. But we have to have that simple obedience or humility to listen to what the Lord, which is pictured by Elisha and here, the Lord in his word tells us to do. You know, our spiritual journey is not complicated. It's about going to the Lord, learning truths from his word and living by them. It's a simple formula, but sometimes we expect something more dramatic to happen, or that we think the ideas the world has to offer are better, like the rivers of Damascus, the Abana and the Pharpar. But it's simple. Go to the Lord's word, immerse yourself in those truths, and live by them, and you will find healing in your life. It's a message the Lord wants us to understand. It's simple, but we got to work on it. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great week. Thanks.